distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, our participants have gathered here in St. Petersburg. We have colleagues that have joined us online from the FAO headquarters in Rome. We have our audience on the internet. Welcome to the FAO session organized on the sidelines of the Global Fishery Forum. It is dedicated to the market of fishery and aquaculture market. Information as a powerful tool for assessing business opportunities. Fisheries have existed not only for capturing fish, it is aimed at distributing this valuable product to all people on our planet, and the main channel to distribute these products is trade, domestic and international trade. And the specificity of our trade is such that the majority of these products are being consumed far away from extraction and processing. So logistics chains, value chains in fisheries are the longest, the most complex, and they're susceptible to external shocks, as we have felt over the past years when our planet has been upended by the novel coronavirus. Almost every fifth calorie that we obtain crosses at least one international border. With regards to fishery products, this is the more relevant because 37% of world fishery production is being distributed via international trade channels. And of course, possessing information on demand, prices, forecasts for catching, trade movements, and stocks of products that can be stored more or less for a long time is the determining factor for the industry. Fishery and aquaculture includes not only fishers themselves, but their families, all the processing industry, whose manpower is approaching that of fishery itself. And so it involves 7 million people all over the world. Fishery and aquaculture literally feeds them, as well as the other people on Earth, even in countries that have not been traditionally consuming fish. Fish consumption is increasing. We know that fish is a valuable source of protein, animal protein, of micronutrients, macronutrients, vitamins. For example, cod liver contains vitamins that are absent in any other products, and fish is an indispensable component of a diet. For example, to eliminate hunger by 2030 and ensure food security, fishery industry gives us hope, despite the limited character of fish products. And therefore, aquaculture production is growing exponentially. So I'm concluding my opening remarks, and now I give the floor to Rome. The floor goes to Marcio de Souza from Globefish Information Project of the FAO, whose main goal is to provide information on fish products. Marcio, please, the floor is yours.
Спасибо, Oleg. Thank you all. It's a great pleasure to be here on behalf of the Fisheries and Aquaculture Division of FAO. We have been participating constantly at the Russian Seafood Expo. It's a great pleasure, again, to participate in the side events and the conference as a whole. I think I would like first to thank Oleg for highlighting some very specific and important figures that exactly give us a very good starting point to reiterate the importance of market information in terms of fisheries and aquaculture products. And my speech is going to be very short because my idea here is exactly trying to set the stage for the upcoming speakers. And we have seen lately a strong increase in the production of fisheries and aquaculture products. We all know that aquaculture is becoming year by year more important. That is also a reality in Russia. And we have seen this increase in production. But production is only one of the rings of the value chain. We have to think further. We are producing more, and therefore we have to prepare ourselves more to sell those products. So this is a key component of this increase in production. We have to be prepared to reach new markets and to remain in the markets that we are already exporting to. And that's the role of information. Fisheries and aquaculture products, they are they have a very strong international pattern. I usually mention these figures a lot in several presentations that I give, that if we analyze the export value of fisheries and aquaculture products, that export value is equivalent to the sum of all other animal proteins. So fish is 56% of the export value, and that's a lot. And we are continue to increase production, and that participation in international trade is also increasing. And we have to be prepared to take advantage of this participation in international trade. Russia can play a key role in this regard. We all know the activities and the potential and the species that Russia produces. And in addition to that, it's very important that even the big fish producers, they are also big fish importers. And that's a completely different set if compared to other animal proteins. We have such a variety of species that's impossible for any country to say that they are self-sufficient in any kind of species. And in addition to that, I'm talking about increasing production, a very strong international component of fisheries and aquaculture. But in addition to that, the market is changing a lot. The consumer demands are changing. Consumers are being more conscious about sustainability, requiring more information about the product that they buy. So there is a huge overall change in terms of the pattern of consumption, pattern of sale. And that's important for the market to know that. And the idea of this, the idea of this side event is exactly to show what FAO, in conjunction with the Fish Info Network, can provide to users in terms of access to information, in terms of knowing the new trends, knowing import regulations, being aware of new things, new measures that are impacting the market. So this is our main message today. If I can summarize maybe the main motto of this event is information, information, information. The idea here is to highlight the value of information, to highlight that we have units covering different areas of the world, Southeast Asia, Latin America, Europe, and the global one that can provide Russian entrepreneurs, the Russian government, with more information about markets, and also very important is to be aware of the trade measures that are affecting markets. That's why also we have invited our friend from UNCTAD. So my objective today is just to make this overall setting the stage for the upcoming speakers. I would like to thank you all for the presence. And Oleg, thank you. Спасибо.
Thank you, Marcio, for your concise and very informative introduction. Of course, information is key today because supply on food and non-food markets relating to fishery and aquaculture is increasing, and therefore competition is growing among producers. And so possessing information is a key to success for private sector. And on the other hand, it's an indispensable condition for market saturation, for ensuring food security. This is the main concern of FAO, to feed people with a good quality food. And so those who know, they have all the arms. Of course, people should not be afraid. Maybe the fish should be afraid. But this is the object of our trade, of our industry. And on the international market, I would like to emphasize that free market of information is provided by Blowfish and its partners, Eurofish, Infofish. They play a major role because they provide the main portion of diverse, in-depth, relevant, and constantly updated information on the state of fish markets, capture forecasts that allows both to producers and to consumers to make educated choices on investments, on developing then businesses, and to satisfy consumer demand. Our next speaker is Marcio's colleague, Mr. Weiwei Wang, fishery officer, FAO headquarters in Rome, and his presentation will be dedicated to the role of Blowfish in a decreasing information gap on trade of fisheries and aquaculture products. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alex. Let me share my screen. Can you see the screen? Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much again for the coordination and all the support. It's really my great privilege to be here and then to introduce Blowfish to all of you by taking this opportunity. And before I start, just information that FAO has a booth in the expo, so some of the publications will be there. So for interested persons, please, you can check Blowfish information and Blowfish publications. Thank you, Oleg. So I think Marcio has set a very good tone in terms of our webinar today. And then fish is important and fish trade is important. I just summarize what Marcio mentioned into a graph. Can you imagine that the export value of fish, it's more than the combined total of beef, pork, and poultry, which all of those, let's say, animal products have been on your table every day. And this was the reason that Blowfish was established in the FAO Fisheries and Aquaculture Division to monitor and develop, a series of information and analysis on international trade and markets. In addition to Blowfish itself, of course, Blowfish has been run for like 3 decades. But in addition to Globfish itself, we also have a global network that's supporting the analysis and trading information of Globfish. This is the screenshot of the Globfish website. The main activities, I think, have been reiterated many times. The market information, the trade information, prices, statistics, and then we have some additional information on border rejections, COVID, all of those I will put into details later. But please, for any questions, for any queries, you can connect to Globfish through our social media, through the Twitter, and also send an email to us. And please do not forget to subscribe to our newsletter, which you can find on Globfish website. In addition to Globfish, as I mentioned, we are also coordinating a global network, and my colleagues Charlene and Catalina will introduce respectively their surveys. And this international network we call Fish Info Network. We carry out more or less the same functionalities in terms of providing up-to-date information and trade facilitation. For Globfish itself, I'm gonna introduce from 3 angles, the market, the trade, and also some ongoing activities that we are doing and will be launched soon. The market part, the key information, let's say channels in terms of promoting trade-related information or market-related information is, our reports and publications. The first one is called Globfish Highlights, which is our flagship publication focusing on 13 or 14 species that either important traded or importantly in terms of production. We analyze from the production pattern, the trade pattern, the prices developments, as well as the outlook of the species in terms of international trade. The second one is called Blowfish Insights, which is a new publication that we developed. This will provide you in-depth analysis of certain topics. For example, we just carried out a study on Maldivian tuna in terms of its production and the trade pattern and the main requirements of the destination markets in terms of sourcing Maldivian tuna. So what kind of opportunities and market access requirements Maldivian tuna are facing? The last 2 are regional prices, let's say reports, focusing at regional and focusing on different regions, let's say countries. For example, the Chinese fish price reports, because of the importance of Chinese market, we dedicated our efforts to produce a single market report focusing on the main policy updates, the industry news, together with prices of the main species in China. The same pattern goes to European price reports, which we analyze the key market developments of the main species that the European Union, not only European Union, of course, but the whole Europe are facing in terms of the key market evolvements. Statistics, those kind of market and trade knowledge products were based on solid statistics that we produce. We are releasing basically the trade statistics of the main species. For example, I take salmon as example, and I took a screenshot. So this salmon statistic updates, it's very thick, it's about like 600 pages, which contains the main information of the key trading partners in terms of salmon trade. Like Russia, you can find that what is the total value from Russia in terms of exporting salmon to the main destination markets, the value, the volume, the unit value, and the yearly comparison. All of those information for basically all the key trading partners are presented. And this is only for salmon. Imagine we have, all of the small pelagics, salmon, and then tilapia, tuna. So explore more on Glowfish website, and all of those information are provided for free. This is a new product actually launched by Glowfish not very long ago. Currently, we are focusing on European prices. That's why we call it Glowfish European Price Dashboard. But we are in the phase of absorbing an inclusion of more price sources so that you can see, the species at a global level and the historic trends in terms of the prices for that species. And you can filter with different preservation, with different product form and different grading. I guess this information is of particular importance to our industry stakeholders. Okay, a quick overview of our market analysis products. Let's move to trade. This is a country profiler. Of course, this is a combination of market product and trade product, but I do see that if you want to get an overview of a country in terms of its fisheries pattern and the general fisheries profile, I couldn't see a better product than this one. The first page gives you some economic and key fish-related indicators, while the second and third presents you the trade pattern and the key products imported by and exported to. And for example, in Russia, you see, cod has been ranked the #1 product in terms of exports, and a lot of imports for shrimps, for salmon. The market access hub, this one, it's you see, quite comprehensive, and we are very ambitious in terms of establishing a market access hub, which will include information basically from every angles in terms of market access. So for example, what are the main requirements in terms of international trade of fisheries and aquaculture products? The tariffs, the non-tariffs, the regional trade agreements, and what will be the impacts from an integral part, a comprehensive analysis on a certain market or certain species. Some of those items listed on this website have been concluded already. For example, the import and export procedures for some of those key markets, while some of those are still under developing. Since this is very hard for us to go to the very detail of all of those topics, so some of those work have been done in a case-by-case basis. For example, a recent concluded study called Exports of Fish and Fish Products from India. Also, this report received support from UNCTAD. We analyzed what are the production and the trade pattern of Indian fish and fish products, and what are the main requirements from the destination markets in terms of entry requirements for Indian products. So those information, if you go to the detail, you will find it's very useful because it provides a detailed, like a guidance book for you to copy and to, let's say, mimic in your future operations. In addition to those regular work, let's say we are performing, other additional information could be of interest to all of you. The border rejection data from the main markets like EU, the US, and Japan. What were the reasons of the rejection, and what were the key species in terms of market, in terms of border rejection? So those information will be very valuable for other countries to monitor, so that you can avoid the occurrence of those kind of rejections in your case. And then social responsibility issues. This was the request from FAO member countries inviting us to conduct a voluntary guideline in terms of social responsibility issues along the fisheries and aquaculture value chain. Several regional consultations have concluded already, and we are in the stage of polishing the draft to share with countries again for the final approval. And COVID-19, what were the impacts and what are the impacts right now in terms of impacting global fish trade? So this information, we have launched a specific section on Glowfish website where you can find the key analysis at species level of the impacts from COVID. Communication platform. Glowfish, every year we are carrying a series of capacity building programs or policy dialogues with countries. And many countries use Glowfish as a very good platform to exchange the views and experience in terms of fish trade. In addition, Glowfish provides substantial support from the market perspective and trade perspective in terms of supporting the subcommittee on fish trade of FAO, which is going to take place very soon next year. And some future products that I would like to draw your attention. First is an interview with industry leaders or with, let's say, some of those experts in the industry. For example, we just concluded our first interview with the Deputy Director of FAO Fisheries and Aquaculture Division to highlight the importance of trade. And this section actually is live on Glowfish website now. You can find more information there. The second is called species profiler. This will match the country profiler that I shared with you before. So we had something from countries, and then we're going to have an angle from species level to see the production, the trade, the key patterns of these species at a global level. The third is trade insights. We are going to develop a series of, let's say, Glowfish insight paper on trade-related agreements, on regional trade agreements, and to analyze the impacts from those RTAs on fish trade. All of those analyses have been put on the pipeline already, and next year we are going to systematically to compile everything and produce and turn them into the knowledge products. The last one is called trade alerts. We have a template already of those. Our purpose is to analyze the key disputes at WTO within the context of fisheries and aquaculture products, not only to provide the production and trade data, but more importantly, to analyze the overall history of those trade disputes. And then all of those will be kind of interpreted or translated into a plain language to explain the history so other countries can see, or other, let's say, readers and audience can see how did this happen, and then what could be the future precautionary measures that country can take. So I'm going to stop here, and my colleagues definitely will bring more interesting aspects from their regions. And for any questions or queries, please do not hesitate to contact us. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Weiwei. You can ask questions to our colleagues after presentation, after our session, and at any time later. Indeed, the information that has been presented to us on Glowfish efforts and its information products perhaps has ignited the interest of our marketologists, because it's a very diverse spectrum of information products that are ready for consumption. They can be used for market analysis, for current trade flows planning, for investment planning. And that which Glowfish is doing and its information partners in regions provides an opportunity to adapt the industry, the trade, distribution network, to market requirements, to catch dynamics. For example, a simple case in Russia. Late the past year, the People's Republic of China ceased importing frozen products from Russia. And the issue was where to redirect these products. The part of it was stocked in refrigerators, and partly it was redirected to other markets. And the companies that suffered from these measures widely used marketing information available via Blowfish channels as well as InfoSun channels. This is our sister program, a one-stop center, information center on Asian Pacific markets, and the Russian Federation is conducting fishery activities in this region. And the FAO tradition started there, starting from the Soviet times, where Soviet fleet was capturing fish in this region. And so these products have access to other markets. Many vessels are now conducting their activities under other flags, not the Russian one. And so our next speaker will be presenting the InfoFish organization, Shalene Maria Antonisami, the InfoFish director, and so it's my pleasure to give you the floor.
Thank you, Oleg. Let me just quickly share my screen. I hope it's visible now. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank FAO and also the organizers of Expo Russia for giving this opportunity or inviting InfoFish to be part of this very important event. It's good to be here again virtually. The last we were present at the 2019 event physically to be part of, as a media partner of Expo Russia. So InfoFish is an intergovernmental organization. Blowfish, particularly to assist the fishery industry in the Asia-Pacific region. As of this year, we are 40 years old, and we have been, since our establishment, assisting the countries in the Asia-Pacific region through our various fisheries, developmental, and aquaculture-related activities. We have, with InfoFish, 12 member countries from the Asia-Pacific region, including 3 countries from the Pacific, which is Fiji, Papua New Guinea, and Solomon Islands. Our main activities are, as mentioned, are related to market and technical advisory, including publishing various periodicals and magazines, which I will share shortly. And besides providing this market information, we also assist our member countries by providing information through our training programs and workshops as well. In spite of the COVID-19 situation, we have still continued to do so through our various activities, but we've been having it online. Over the years, as I mentioned, our activities has been very much related to developmental activities for member countries. And we've been having a very strong rapport with the private industry And we work through our activities for member countries. We are basically bridging the connection between the public and the private sector. And these are the following activities are through which we are doing all this assistance. The next slides, I will walk you through some of the activities enlisted just now through our publications, our conferences, workshops, and so on. So the InfoFish trade news, in keeping the industry updated with latest price information, just as Blowfish publications, we have the InfoFish trade news, which is a comprehensive coverage on international fish trade, focusing on global information for fish prices, including an analysis of main commodities such as shrimp and tuna. This publication comes out every 2 weeks, and it's available on subscription. And it's a newsletter which is being used by many in the industry to do the analysis over a period of time, because this comes out every 2 weeks. In addition to the InfoFish trade news, we also publish the InfoFish International, which is a bi-monthly magazine. And this is a magazine that is popular among the industry simply because we have coverage of various areas of fishery industry, including fish processing, aquaculture, product development, and post-harvest handling. In recent times, we've been adding on new additions to the content of the magazine, including interviews by leading experts in the industry. As you can see on the slide, we have some of the main interviews that we've had over the past 1.5 years. So every year we produce 6 issues of the magazine. So we have 6 interviews, and we've been also focusing a lot on the involvement of women in fisheries as well. Our main pillars of content of the magazine includes covering small-scale fisheries development and also global agenda issues. Sorry, I'm not sure why it's moving backwards. Yeah. So some of the other publications that we produce is the Fish Inspector, which covers topics related to the safety and hygiene of fishery products. This is a publication which is produced in collaboration with the International Association of Fish Inspectors, as well as FAO. As well, we produce the Fishing Technology Digest, which focuses on issues related to the fishing and technology. Just to quickly show you some of the other publications that we have, and also a visual of our technical information center that we have at InfoFish office. And we produce various other technical handbooks related to the fishery industry, which assist member countries, and these are also available for other countries in the region and beyond to avail. And these are many of these publications are also now available online, and which we can you could have access to. In addition to our publications, InfoFish also keeps a close rapport with the industry, as I mentioned just now. And through the InfoFish Associate membership, this allows the industry to have regular access to all InfoFish publications at special rates, and also it allows InfoFish, it allows the industry to get access to the government sector of the InfoFish member countries, which are many of the countries are main importing or main producers in the region, as well as exporters of fish and fishery products. So this allows the interaction, and as I said just now, to bridge the connection between the private sector and the public sector. We now look into our conferences and exhibitions. So our InfoFish conferences and exhibitions are one of the main vehicles of also sort of live dissemination of information. Our key, or rather flagship event, is the World Tuna Conference that we have every 2 years and regularly takes place in Bangkok. This conference brings about close to 600 delegates from the global tuna industry who meet every 2 years to discuss on the main issues related to the global tuna industry. And these 600 delegates comprise of leading players in the industry, from the small players up to the big players. And it brings in high-level participation, including at the ministerial level. So we were not able to have our 15th session last year. And we had the first virtual tuna conference this year in May 2021, which was successfully conducted. And we had the participation of the minister from Fiji, as well as from Ecuador, and also His Excellency Ambassador Peter Thompson. So what you see now is some visuals of the exhibition itself, the virtual designs, and also the virtual exhibition booths. Just a quick, besides the global tuna industry, we also have an Infofish ornamental tuna conference that we host every 2 years. And this was held earlier this year in February, where we had the Minister of Fisheries, or Minister for Ornamental Fish from Sri Lanka, who did the opening. And of course, the shrimp industry, the shrimp conference that we have every 2 years as well, but there was some delay in the previous edition. So the 5th edition was held in 2019, and the next one is being planned for 2022. Also here is what you see is the Pacific Tuna Forum. This is the Pacific edition of the tuna conference that is held mainly in the Pacific region. And since 2007, we've been holding it in various Pacific Island countries. What you see is the last conference, which was held in Papua New Guinea in 2019. And we are having the first virtual tuna forum, Pacific Tuna Forum, being planned for November this year. Again, some visuals of the Tuna 2018 event. We are happy to mention here, as earlier also I highlighted, that we were part of the Global Fishery Forum in 2019 as a media partner. And one of the key activities that we also participated was trying to find the market, or trying to bridge the connection with exporters from Asia and Pacific region with importers in Russia. And we had some significant talks with some of the key ministries there, and we continue to facilitate these connections between buyers and sellers from Russia and the Asia Pacific region. Besides our regular activities, we also are involved in various FAO events to share information related to Asia Pacific region in terms of markets, as well as other technical developments when we are invited to. Infofish plays a very important role in the Asia Pacific region in providing such information. What you see is also training programs that we assist our countries in getting as well in providing this in terms of providing the information support. Besides training programs, workshops, conferences, we do participate also in major exhibitions, seafood trade shows, where we not only promote the trade from Infofish member countries, but we also help countries to bridge them with buyers or sellers in this event, in addition to promoting Infofish activities. So what you see is the show in Japan, as well as in the Brussels Seafood Show that used to take place every year. The event now takes place in Barcelona from next year onwards. This is in China, one of the main producing countries, as well as a major market now for many of InfoFish member countries. So in addition to that, InfoFish also participates in events on invitation to discuss or to provide information on the developments in the Asia Pacific region. And this visual was when InfoFish participated at the Vigo Tuna conference in 2019. Visuals here are showing the training programs that InfoFish organizes for its member countries. And this is on the technical HACCP implementation awareness program that was done for Cambodia, which is one of our member countries, where we bring experts to train the government sectors and the private sector in some of the guidelines that are required for them in exporting their products. Besides technical issues, we also train our member countries in market analysis and trade information systems. And this was done in picture. What you see is where we did this for the Fisheries Development Authority in Malaysia, where InfoFish is based. We also organize or disseminate information on the industry, updates on industry through exposure visits that we organize for our member countries. And this is where we also do connections between InfoFish member countries. What you see now is a training program, an exposure visit for ornamental fish industry from Sri Lanka in Thailand. A visit was organized for Sri Lankan ornamental fish exporters to view various facilities and the industry operations in Thailand, including the visit to a wholesale ornamental fish market. As I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of online events since COVID came in 2019, and our training programs continue to go even virtually. And these are some of the events that we did. And in order to keep the countries updated, InfoFish countries updated with what's happening in terms of developments from the start of COVID, including when COVID started becoming even more rampant. This is a training program that we did on seaweed tissue culture for InfoFish member countries in collaboration with the Simeo Biotrop Center in Indonesia, as well as the webinars on the impact of COVID-19 on various seafood products. The first we had was in April last year when we organized this open webinar.
Shirley, might I remind you of the time limit? I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. I'm ending soon. And then a couple of other events that we've been organizing. All the open webinars are available on InfoFish YouTube channel, and these are free. You can always visit and view those recordings of the webinars, including a salmon dialogue that we had recently in July this year. And just to quickly run through some visuals and also some of the project activities that we've been doing to assist with our member countries with fundings from international organizations. And I think that's about it. In addition to that is InfoFish has been assisting FAO with promoting a global agenda through our various activities and arranging the logistics and arrangements for FAO officers. And this includes some of the activities that we've done quite a bit in the Pacific region as well. And these are just visuals of all the webinars we've organized this year in relation to the major global agenda activities in relation to fisheries and aquaculture. So I'll stop here and thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlene. InfoFish's work is as diverse and remarkable as the countries from this region and the Asia and Pacific region, the countries from this region that account for over 50% of fishery and aquaculture production, and this proportion will only increase because the Atlantic fisheries, the Mediterranean fisheries, they are being exploited at the almost maximum level. The living marine resources of the Pacific, the Indian Oceans, and the coastal zones and aquaculture in these areas has huge growth potential. And what could be the role of a fishery that is being developed reasonably and taking into account the market demands can be demonstrated by the example of Bangladesh, that over the past 10 to 15 years has made a leap in its development. And it turned from the country that ranked the least developed countries in the World Bank's list and has long been on FAO's a list of low-income countries and food deficit countries, thanks to fisheries development, including aquaculture, has managed in a period of less than one generation to graduate from this category and to become a middle-income country. By the way, Russian Federation is included in the same category. And of course, InfoSun is playing a major role here. The role in the InfoFish global network that also includes Eurofish, the organization that is specialized on fish markets in Europe. And Europe is the very region whose countries are major fishery products exporters and importers, especially in premium segments. These products are highly valued in these countries. And in terms of market opportunities, this organization is very relevant. And the work of this organization will be presented by Ekaterina Tribelustova, who has been managing projects in this organization over the past decade. She is one of the most informed Russian-speaking experts in the European markets. Thank you so much. Good morning, dear colleagues. Distinguished Mr. Kobякov, thank you for inviting me to participate in this seminar. This is the first day of our session. We are privileged to be here to see you live and to move to the mixed format of our events. Perhaps many of you are familiar with the Albert Einstein saying, information, pure information, is not knowledge. True source of knowledge is experience. This is the first half of the 20th century, and Robert Cialdini in the second half of the 20th century, he said, for information to become knowledge, it needs to be processed. You need to collect it, to sift it, to integrate, to analyze, and to preserve it. So all aspects of our life at the moment have been transformed, starting from personal and to business processes. And this huge advance has provided us potential in giving access to information and knowledge for fishery industry. How is this being translated in Eurofish, the intergovernmental organization? Eurofish was created in 2002 as a successor of Eastfish, Albania, Hungary, Croatia, Denmark, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Norway, Poland, Romania, Spain, and Turkey are members of the organization, and according to our mandate, the role of Eurofish is to assist in the development of all aspects of fish processing and aquaculture in Europe, as well as to facilitate trade, market development, and cooperation in the European fisheries industry at the regional level. The organization unites interests of a fishery in Europe, regardless of political interests, by providing practical assistance that is a basis for increasing awareness. Eurofish is a member of a Fish Info network managed by Blowfish FAO in Rome, the Department of Fisheries. As well, we also have a memorandum of understanding with GFCM, General Fisheries Commission for the Mediterranean region, and it's member of some European regional platforms. So how do we assist in translating information, knowledge, and experience? Of course, we collect, analyze, and distribute information via consumer market research, via our Eurofish magazine, etc. We conduct events on increasing potential, as well as workshops, business meetings. We conduct advertising activities, and also we create, coordinate, and manage projects. Perhaps many of you have seen the Eurofish magazine. It's a unique publication that covers this sector in the member countries in English. The key approach, our priority, is a market-oriented approach. I will give you just two examples of projects where market-oriented approach is being used at all levels. EMOFA, European Market Observatory for Fisheries and Aquaculture Products. This is the product of European Commission. DG Mare. This is a major digital instrument for fishery and aquaculture sector of the EU. Its aim is to increase transparency and to support business decisions and strategy and policy development. This presupposes data collection, processing, market analysis, dissemination, and communication activities. So this is the role of Eurofish in the project. We participate in the consortium. We collect data, processes. We analyze market. We disseminate information. We contribute to website translation and conduct online studies of online sales of fish products. For example, in EMOFA, you can obtain free information to the industry. All the European countries that produce fish, you can obtain in-depth, detailed information on our website. Our next project that I would like to highlight is Perform Fish. It's another European Commission project. It's aimed at integrating innovative approaches for competitive and sustainable performance across the Mediterranean aquaculture value chain. It was started 5 years ago. It is being managed by Thessala University. It unites 28 partners and includes 5 major aquaculture producers. We have 10 work packages. I am responsible for the 5th one, reinforcing marketing of sea bass and sea bream products. We provide in-depth market analysis and consumer survey in Italy, Spain, Greece, France, Germany, UK, and the USA. And when we develop various modules of the package, we create a strategy. We facilitate decision-making for both producers, clusters, and associations. Finally, we ensure practical information sharing. I would like to highlight the recent 4 business platforms, for example, for the Turkish delegation in St. Petersburg. Over the past 4 years, we have platforms in Bremen, in Gdansk, and in Brussels that will be moved in Barcelona. These platforms have been created for member states, industry associations, as well as for small enterprises. And we support our co-exhibitors before and during events. We conduct promotion through the pages of Eurofish magazines. We analyze markets and segments during the event. Thank you for your kind attention. As you can see, there are various ways to process information. But no matter what you do, please use this rich spectrum of information that is available now. Thank you. Thank you so much. Speaking again of trade, of fish trade, we need to say that perhaps this is the most regulated area of fish products trade that is being controlled by numerous norms created at government level, for example, tariff measures, quotas, sanitary requirements, and in terms of prevalence and incidence of tariff and non-tariff measures in marine fishery products, we asked to present their views our colleagues from UNCTAD, Mr. David Eugi. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you listen? Just to confirm that it's working. Okay, perfect. I will be sharing the screen with a slide in Russian. I'm not able to share the screen unless I can do it according to the system.
You're not able?
No, unless you share the screen
Just a moment,
for me or I can share.
David will check it just.
No problem. Well, the screen, the rights to share screen.
Oh, he has the rights.
Okay, thank you. First of all, welcome to all the audience today. It's a pleasure to be here and always cooperate with FAO, with InfoFish, and a real pleasure to present in Russia. Never done. This is my first time, and I would have loved to be in St. Petersburg, but we'll do virtually today. I'm going to be sharing the screen on some recent research we have done. The presentation will be in Russia, but I will be speaking in English. One second, can you see it? Fantastic. So I will start presenting. I will be presenting an analysis of trade flows, value chains, and the tendencies that exist today on tariff and particularly on non-tariff measures. Non-tariff that are not duties or taxes, meaning technical measures, sanitary measures, import restrictions, import permits, export restrictions, subsidies, etc. So I will start first trying to give you an overview. We have done, for the first time ever, an analysis of the entire oceans blue economy globally. And we have been able to get some numbers on the value of marine fisheries exports at two levels, at the raw material level, including fresh, frozen, but also in preserved fish and crustaceans and manufactured products. The value in 2018, this is before COVID, but for the first time we have this and we can start looking at against other ocean-based sectors in the economy. The exports, only the exports, not imports, of marine fisheries, again, fresh, frozen, etc., was about $7.5 billion in 2018. Most of it was about finfish, followed by crustaceans. This number looks low compared to the total value of fish trade because we don't include freshwater species, namely tilapia, carp, etc. If we go to the prepare and manufactures derived from fish, we arrived to a number of 55 billion in exports in 2018. Mainly prepared fish crustaceans is the for human consumption is the lion's share of exports. Follow, interesting, by flours, meals, pellets of fish and crustaceans that can be used for human consumption, but also for animal consumption, aquaculture, and agriculture as fertilizers. So very interesting that is almost as much as the human consumption. So this is very interesting. Together, they made a total of 130 billion in 2018. That means basically the 40 billion more are about freshwater species, again, tilapia, carp, and other freshwater shrimp. Now, when we look at the fisheries value chain, especially in the COVID and the post-COVID phase, there have been many changes. There is a wave of regulatory changes that are happening very fast. The first is that there is more monitoring and checks on all fisheries and aquaculture value chains for multiple reasons. Some that we already know historically, like health, concerns about IUU fishing, and environment. But also we're starting to see monitoring and checks over emissions, CO2 emissions and greenhouse emissions, social standards and human rights. So the regulations around the fisheries and aquaculture value chain are growing incrementally per year. We have calculated that growth is about 12% per year in the number of regulations applicable to the sector, which is very significant. We have also calculated the amount of non-tariff measures, meaning regulations in general, and all type of economic instruments besides taxes and duties, applied to the fisheries and aquaculture value chains are 2.5 times larger than in manufacturers. So it's together with pharmaceuticals and other agricultural products, one of the most regulated sectors in the planet in trade. So this is very important because actors in the sector need to know that they need to comply with a very significant number of regulations, and that can be burdensome, but also that can divert trade in many ways depending on these measures. The value chains are changing in a form that they're becoming shorter geographically. So they are trying to get inputs and export to local and regional markets more than globally, especially during the COVID. It may change again after the COVID, but it's still very important, the need to have reliable suppliers and clients. A big factor of change in the period of the COVID 2020, also 2021, has been that digitalization has been moving very fast, forced by the market demands, forced by the need to find new markets and ensure that you get the consumers that cannot go to supermarkets on normal basis or different trading points. And interestingly, this process of digitalization in the form of data entry, blockchains, traceability systems, logging of different activities from pre-harvesting to harvesting has been not only happening in the private sector in businesses, but also has been forced and pushed very strongly on the public sector at the custom level to ensure that there is food security and food supply, but also in fisheries authorities, in permits, in monitoring, in checking. So the government agencies that tend to usually follow in a slower manner the digital and other new technologies application were forced to leapfrog. So that was somehow a positive impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Finally, the fact that there are new technologies and they're being used more doesn't mean that everybody has access. So there are elements of inequalities that we will have to all look, especially in coastal communities and rural communities. Now, here in this slide, I'm going to show the first level of analysis, which are the tariffs. Tariffs in the marine fisheries and seed processing sectors that we call sector A and B in our own classification in UNCAC, in oceans economy, basically are not super high, but are not low. They range between 6 to 20 to 19%, depending of the region and the product. You have the highest tariff in low-income countries and middle-income countries. Nevertheless, they follow a pattern, and they are higher in seafood processing as a way to promote infant industry or ensure that value addition take place in certain countries. But compared to other oceans-based sectors, the tariffs in seafood fisheries and seafood processing are higher. So of all oceans-based sectors, it's the one with the highest tariff. Now, if we look at non-tariff measures, again, for example, sanitary measures, technical measure, pre-shipment inspection, quality controls, price controls, finance, export restrictions, etc., we find that the pattern in marine fisheries, the marine fisheries sector, in the seafood processing, and also in sea minerals, meaning salts, okay, is very similar. To have a significant amount, more than 50% of all the measures are sanitary measures, followed by technical measures, including CAT certificates, for example. Also, you have export restrictions that are becoming very important, and this is one of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many countries wanted to ensure that food was available for their own population. So this was not so common to the fishery sectors before the COVID-19. So we have a new set of restrictions that could be applied in the case of fisheries, not allowed anymore for agriculture and the WTO agricultural agreement and subsequent decisions, but it is important to consider that they are emerging. Now, if we look at in terms of prevalence and incidence of non-tariff measures, basically the incidence refers to the share, to the amount of non-tariff measures applicable to the universe of HS codes in fisheries. So almost 100% of all HS codes applicable to fish, seafood products, seafood manufacturers are subject to SPS measures, almost all. Followed by export restriction, very high, almost 80%. In the past used to be technical measures, the second level. Now the third level are technical measures. And this means that almost 70 plus of all HS codes are regulated by SPS, exports, and TBT measures, meaning technical measures. So this is again a very regulated sector. If we go to prevalence, this means that how many of these measures apply to each HS code. And then the reality is very harsh. Basically, we have about eight sanitary measures applicable to each HS code, and then export restriction to three export restriction at least to each HS code in different countries, and then technical measures. Again, this shows a very significant level of regulation. This is normal in agriculture and food products, but in fisheries, the export restrictions are new, but also they continue to increase. So it's something that all exporters, traders need to look at, because this may become burdensome if there is no harmonization and trade facilitation processes for fisheries products. Now, let's look at the new normal. The world has changed as a consequence of the COVID pandemic and many of the measures implemented nationally, but there have been some changes. I think one of the most important is that many countries, what they didn't initially consider fisheries an essential good, an essential item, they do now. Even with all these restrictions, they consider that it's essential for food security and nutrition in their own policy. There have been a change in consumer patterns, basically towards shelf-stable, preserved, prepared products, canned products, in pouch, different products that would be used in salads directly or prepared at home without too much work. Again, due to the confinement measures that lasted for a long time, but also in a sense to have homes due to these restrictions. This may change again with the release and flexibility over the measures, but there was a big change. The increasing consumption of fresh food, fresh fish, and fresh crustacean is coming back slowly, but it's coming back. So this may be only a temporary pattern. I think another important element of the new normal is that both businesses, consumers increasingly went digital. We have the data on flows, global flows of e-commerce. And e-commerce grew from 40% in 2018 in all transactions to 19% in 2020. And in 21 will continue to increase. It will be over 20% of all transactions. That's huge. And the value of these transactions, e-commerce globally, internally, externally, of all consumers is estimated at 27 trillion. This is huge by any standard. Huge by any standard. Just to give an idea, all oceans economy sectors have been estimated at 2.5 trillion. So this is only 10% of all the global e-trade commerce. Finally, a good development of using digital platforms and going digital has been that the role of many middlemen, intermediaries, is less important. Many companies, producers, especially small-scale coastal communities, can prepare and deliver the products directly through e-platforms and sell them directly without having to pass through big supermarket chains or distributors. So this is a very good development because it may imply larger income for local communities. Again, digitalization and contactless procedures have increased also in the public sector. Many countries were issuing fishing permits and CITES permits online, etc. This may come to stay. As you said, the platform, many people will need to go to the offices and to the different public authorities to physically ask for documents. Digitalization can reduce transaction costs in the future, and it has come to stay. And finally, many companies had to do significant investments to ensure that they comply with health, COVID measures, safety requirements, not only in the products, but also in the factories, in the boats, to ensure the safety of fishers, seafarers, and manufacturer producers in a production facility. We have here initially presented an NTM mapping. We went deeper in one case that we did jointly with InfoFish and FAO on India that was shown today, where we look at the NTM mapping and different barriers faced by India that could be done in other countries with the trained database that UNTAC coordinates and holds together with many agencies. So this is an area that many businesses and governments may need to look at just to keep a balance between the purposes of regulation and the need for flow, freer trade of seafood and fisheries sustainable products. A final key message, the main conference of UNTAC, for those who do not know UNTAC is the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. Our role is to facilitate consensus building, technical assistance, and capacity building on trade and development matters, including Russia and Eastern European countries. And the conference will be held in October, 3 to 7 October of this year. If member states consider this is an important area of work, the oceans economy, fisheries trade, cooperation with FAO, InfoFish, and other agencies, is the time to say it and introduce it into the mandate so we can go deeper, as we say, in the oceans. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope it has been useful for all the Russian audience today.
Thank you, David. The issues of non-tariff and tariff measures in fishery and aquaculture is one of the most relevant issues that we are facing today. And I would like to first thank you for your remarkable presentation and to use the opportunity to ask you a question. To what extent the measures to limit fishery products export under the pretext that it could be infected by SARS-CoV-2 virus? What is the UNCTAD position, including in terms of SPS agreement? Thank you.
Thank you for the very relevant questions. I think export restrictions are not usually the best tool to deal with sanitary concerns. In this case, there are many measures that you can do to ensure that the product...
Import restrictions, David, import.
Sorry?
I meant import restrictions.
Import restrictions. Import restrictions. Very big difference here. Import restrictions, yes, are in many cases linked to sanitary concerns that are of horizontal nature. You know, that they are not microbial contamination or virus, etc. There has been a report by a research center in Asia saying that the virus has not entered the fisheries, the fish biology, so cannot be transmitted to fish. But in the manipulation of fish can be transmitted by human manipulation. That's why I mentioned the stricter measures in the handling and manufacturing of fish. I think import restriction in this case depends on the type of requirements. They may be needed to check that maximum security measures were introduced in the production and packaging chain to ensure the virus is, again, human manipulation does not bring the virus into the product, but there is very low probability as there are many means to do that, including sterilization of the product within can pouches, etc. So this is a very low risk. I haven't heard of any contamination that we can check. So I would say that import restrictions for sanitary measures are important, provided they are fair, non-discriminatory, non-burdensome, and based in international standards as set by WTO agreements.
Okay, thank you, David. We understand that every country has a sovereign right of regulating and limiting product flow, especially of food products in its country. But I wonder whether those measures are justified by the body of international law we have in trade, such as precautionary principle.
Yes, thank you for the dialogue. The precautionary principle is the justification for taking these measures, even if there is no scientific evidence, of course. But like this is a pandemic, this is an emergency. Countries have been setting the measure first and asking questions later. It's not, these measures have been certified by any international body. They are not harmonized. They are not agreed. They have come mostly unilaterally. That's one of the worries. So countries can do that for a certain period. There is not yet a discussion that I know of how to set sanitary measures for the handling and manufacturing of fisheries or even food products to avoid the transmission of COVID-19. But that's a big question for the WHO more than ours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Well, this issue falls within the competence of many bodies, and actually everyone tries to put it aside, so it's not my competence, and I'm grateful for your straight and honest answer. And anyhow, I have good news for participants of today's section. I'll switch to Russian now.
Multiple times during this pandemic, the question has been raised on the possibility to transmit SARS-CoV-2 via fish products, both by frozen and fresh products, and I can authoritatively state that neither the FAO nor the WHO can confirm that there is a possibility to transmit the virus via these products. So in terms of health, fish products are absolutely safe, and our organization and the Blowfish network, as well as the organizations that have regulatory functions, for example, Codex Alimentarius, created jointly by the FAO and WHO, they conduct awareness-raising activities, and so these statements are scientifically unfounded. So fish products are safe in terms of COVID concerns. Of course, there is a whole bunch of other programs, for example, microbial and chemical contamination, but we have the whole history of previous decades, and so here FAO is on the side of fish exporters and will continue to disseminate this information both in the interest of producers and of consumers. Thank you so much for all our speakers. We have finished our main program. We have approached the end of our sessions. If you have any questions, you can use this opportunity, or you can send them to our email. We will answer them via our website. Please give the micro to our participant. Please specify to whom you address your questions. Sergei Zaitsev, Region Power Group company. I have a question on the agreement on port state measures. How fast members of FAO are implementing the provisions of this agreement? This is my main question, and in particular, I would like to ask how real this is this roadmap that has been developed by the Russian Federation, and is it being complied with? Does the Ministry of Agriculture has any information on the terms of implementation of this roadmap? Thank you for your question. The Port State Measures Agreement is playing a systemic role in the structure of international agreements developed under the auspices of the FAO. And I believe that after the responsible fishing code introduction, which is a soft law document, whereas the Port State Measures Agreement is a hard law agreement that is subject to ratification. And it has highlighted the raised awareness of the FAO member countries on the necessity to strictly control this predatory fishing, to eliminate all the loopholes that allowed these products to have access to markets. And with regards to flag states and global vessel registry for vessels that have been detected in predatory fishing. All this creates a complex of measures that will allow us with the time to eliminate the IUU fishing. And the Russian Federation, one of major fishery producers, ratified this document. So through this weight on the side of good against evil, and so the FAO provides support to the Russian Federation, including in developing the relevant documents for plan of action. And we know that even before the ratification, and 10 years have passed from signing to ratification, the constitutional process is quite lengthy. And so over this decade, Russia concluded a bilateral agreement against IUU fishing almost with all its neighboring countries that are extracting fish in the Pacific Ocean, including South Korea, DPRK, the USA. And so this instrument plays a systemic role. I cannot comment on separate provisions of this plan, but it is fully aligned with the FAO recommendations, and there is this term in English, ownership, not just owning something, but being responsible for something. And so Russia did this responsibly and analyzed all the possible consequences. So we can speak of leadership of our country in combating the IUU fishing in this region. Me and Mr. Ohanov, we had a privilege in the conference hall in FAO to vote for this remarkable instrument. And so we discussed the huge damage that the IUU fishing causes to Russian fisheries, to fishers and their families. And so this step is very relevant and very positive. I hope that I have answered your questions. Please.
Пожалуйста.
I have two questions to Madam Ekaterina, Росприродрезерв, Карев Олег. My question is to Madam Ekaterina Tribelustova, and the second question is to you. We have a very representative participation, but we don't have France, Germany, and Spain. You have Italy. Did you invite them at all? My second question is more broad with regards to fishery products that is here in the refrigerator, and we have a new season, for example, for pollock. You have listed some reasons for China to limit imports. They don't look credible. Why consumers from France and Germany are worried that our pollock and, for example, our cods are absent on the market? Do they wait for these products? They say that there is no Russian pollock. And you know that for us it's 1 to 1.5 million of export products. Please. Thank you for the questions. Well, the organization was created as a fishery organ in Central and Eastern Europe, but it turned out that Italy and Spain were at the heart of, at the onset of this organization. With regards to France, it was mainly focused on Central Europe and then was broadened, for example, to include Northern Europe, Norway, Denmark, and Turkey, the Mediterranean. With regards to France and the UK, we are collaborating with them, for example, in various projects. And some of them, not all of them, are observers at our organization. Thank you. With regards to the second question, for example, pollock extracted by Russian companies, they usually get access to markets as processed products, for example, in the form of fillets, semi-finished products. For example, if this pollock is not from Russia, it can be from other countries. And there, for example, the form can be different. By consumers usually don't notice the change of a supplier. All this is related to macro trade dynamics. Usually, there is a major question of distributing and selling at a discount. This is due to the issues of storage. The price of storage also increases. Fish extracting companies have previously already faced these problems, but of course not in this scale. So these issues is being resolved via market means. but the distribution channels are usually quite diverse. Of course, the price is being impacted when one major market is closed for subjective or objective reasons. And in our industry, value chains are huge, and so the products are being reoriented to other markets. Usually no major deficit arises in these cases. But of course, the main market regulator is price. And the opportunities of infofish and glowfish, they provide to producers and operators to choose the destination and volume for their products. Thank you so much. I believe that we're running out of time. Thank you for your attention and your participation. The report on this session will be published on the Moscow FAO office. For example, you can type FAO Moscow office. You can find it there, as well as the Zoom record video. Thank you, and I wish you fruitful work during the forum. Please welcome to the FAO stand.